Well, please help me welcome back for the Q&A, Director Taylor Hackford.
Hey, listen, before you even ask a question, I have to make a little correction, a big correction. It's tough to get up in front of an audience and try to remember everybody. I forgot Harvey Keitel. How could you ever forget Harvey Keitel? Who obviously had a big part in the movie, so forgive me, Harvey. And I also want to just, I was talking about producers, writers, actors, but of course the film's made by a lot of people, a lot of very talented people. And I just want to call out Oliver Stapleton, my DP, who did, I think, a great job. You're shooting a film, we did this film in 27 days. It was like really fast. And and I wanted a look of New York. I wanted real New York, but I didn't, we shot in the winter. So I wanted New York in the winter. I didn't want a sunny day, and I never got one. But when the snowstorm hit on the weekend and we weren't shooting, Oliver went out and shot it. And we were on the street raining, and we didn't have a lot of permits when you couldn't get it with the rain. So it was raining. We were shooting one place, and I said, Bob, we got to go out there and shoot. We don't have a permit. We were right on Times Square. We literally went out and shot that whole big sequence. Walking through. We parked the van up a couple of blocks. He got out, walked through those people. It was great. The editor, Mark Warner, is here tonight. Mark, stand up. Mark did a fantastic job. You spend all that time in the editing room, but this film moves, and you dance with your editor. It was great. And I also want to say Christy Zia was a production designer. She's worked with Bob before. She's a real New Yorker. She's great. And then I also want to acknowledge Terrence Blanchard, who did the score. There's something about, I love 1960s jazz. That Jackie Burke is a child of Lenny Bruce, coming to his prime in the 60s. And Art Blakey is somebody who just knocks me out. Well, Terrence Blanchard, when he was a teenager, played with Art Blakey. And he composed an original score that I think really fits comedy. There's something about jazz and comedy that go together. And I think he just did a great job. So just want to acknowledge those people.
Well, I'm going to stand again because I know there are some other guests who are joining us for the Q&A. So would you bring them up?
I'd like to, let's start by bringing out Mr. DeVito. We're gonna bring everybody up, and then we'll just have a discussion here. Next would be, we'll get stuck. Leslie Mann. We get to see her glamorous. I asked her to do the piece without makeup. Fearless, she did, because that's what harmony is. She was just fantastic. And I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Jackie Burke, Robert De Niro.
start with some questions, and then I am going to open it up to the audience for a few questions. Great. So you talked about this being a passion project, and so I think we would love to hear more about that journey and what the source, the inspiration was.
Well, we have to get it from the source here, Mr. De Niro.
Well, Art Lidson and I have been working on this for 7 or 8 years. It's gone through a few iterations, a few directors. We finally got to Taylor, and I'm very happy with what he did. He did a great job. He was indefatigable. His energy, I've never seen anything like it. He was just totally committed to the project from the moment he got involved, and we really needed that. We needed him to help pull the whole thing together, and he certainly did that. Thank you, Taylor.
And so as the project grew and you had to build this cast, and a cast that also could work well together and could perhaps even improvise, certainly as you're talking about music and comedy and the similarities. Can you talk about that process, sort of building, obviously starting with Robert De Niro and then building those pieces of the ensemble?
Well, when you casting is like a chemistry set, and as I said earlier when we started this evening, when you got Bob De Niro, you got actors who would be interested and challenged to work with him. And, I put a phone call in and said, would you do it? Send him the script. That's what happened. And it was a great experience, and that people just lined up. Edie, Charles, Hart. Tackling Harvey Keitel is one of the hardest things you can imagine. But, he's worked with Bob, knows Bob well, and came on board. As I told you, Leslie is, Leslie was a find. She came in at the last minute. She just fit right in, took it, and made the role her own. And it was nobody acts alone. And what Bob and Leslie did, yes, there were wonderful words on the page, but then they just picked it up and ran with it, and you have that scene in the basement, when she drops the olives. There was just, by the way, one take. One take. She just hit it. And, when that's one thing after you've made films for a while, you can do 25 takes sometimes. When you got it, and you want to go with it. Danny, when Danny and Patty, when Danny and Patty walked into that deli, they just took control. And you felt it was theirs. I just want to say one thing, and I'll let them talk. But, you see, casting Danny DeVito and Bob De Niro as brothers. Is that going to work? And then we go into Ben's Best Deli in Queens. And on the wall is this painting of Ben. His son Jay runs it. In fact, he was in the film. And I looked at that and I said, it's going to work. I just cut to it. And when you see Ben and you see the two of them, you go, yeah, they're brothers. They could be brothers. That could be their father. So in any event, when you got thoroughbreds like this, my philosophy is I don't over-rehearse. What's the point? You got veterans who really, you got to trust. I love actors. I lived with a great one. And you want to be able to let them do their thing within the context, hopefully they'll listen, what I have to say. But you want to be able to give them the freedom to go after it. And that wedding, it just was happening. It was flowing, it was happening. And that's what I wanted to do, make it feel real and alive. And, so anyway, when you got these people here, you want to be able to give them the ability to show their stuff, and I think they did.
And this next question is for the actors. When you received the script and you read it, what was it that you saw in the script, in the potential for your own characters that made you say yes to the project?
Me?
Yes.
Well, I live with a comedian. He's here. And so it was very, it felt like my world, and I could really relate to it. And then, of course, being able to work with these guys was like a dream come true. And so I was in right away. I was, more than happy to do it. And is that not a good answer? Is that a bad answer?
No, it's
I can keep talking if you want me to. No. But yeah, this is like a dream come true. I mean, I can't even believe I'm sitting here with these guys right now, so I'm super happy. Thanks. Thank you.
One thing that I want Danny to talk about, because you create a family, and he and Patty had worked before in a different context, but they'd worked before, and it just you let them loose, they're just great. But to have your daughter in the film, and playing your daughter, it was one of those great things. I didn't know how he would respond, and but talk about it.
Yeah, well, I loved your answer, by the way. It was a really great answer. But, and it's really, and it's really great that you read the whole script when you got it. I only read my lines. In fact, I read them like 3-4 times, and I didn't know what the fuck the movie was about. But I got a feeling that I knew that he was going to play my brother, and I had a feeling that it was going to be kind of, I was really surprised. I saw the film 2 nights ago at, a screening, and I thought, wow, I should have read the fucking script, It's like really a good movie. I do remember being there with you in the deli. We were there together. And if you remember, like one of the big things was me putting the little salt shakers on the table.
That was a great moment.
Fucking moment that was, yeah. We had a lot of fun making the movie, and I'm so proud of my daughter Lucy, and she was so great in that wedding scene. I'm probably gonna go to the movie and pay my. How much does it cost to go to a movie these days? It's like fucking so expensive, isn't it? But like once you get to be 70, you can get in cheaper, right? That was the great fucking thing about it. Once you do that, yeah. God, I feel like I'm in a comedy show. It's like, what a great fucking audience you are, you pricks. Take it away, Taylor.
So there must be some moments, some really great moments that didn't make it into the movie. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Well, you want to be able to have spontaneity happen. I mean, listen, there was a lot of work that was done. The comedy writers did a lot of work on this, and Bob, worked his ass off, because, an actor is an actor. Comedian is another animal. And I think Bob did a brilliant job of standing up there and being a stand-up. And I say that not because he memorized stuff or anything else. I mean, when you take a mic in your hand, you get up in front of and those are different audiences. This isn't a comedy film about a stand-up that goes into clubs just, he plays in clubs. He played in the soup kitchen, he did a roast with Mann. Every one of those audiences, the old people's home, every one of those audiences, works or doesn't work as much for the audience as it does with the actor. He feeds off of them. And so in any event, that process is great. But when you hit something that's really spontaneous, Jessica Curson, who was the comedian on stage at the Comedy Cellar, and Bob worked every day. They were really close. And, we'd go in there, and I'd throw Bob and Leslie into the crowd, And Leslie, makes a misnomer. He bought me an ice cream, but she said ass cream. And you can see it on her face when it happens. Her response is, "Oh, I fucked up." Except it was real, and Jessica pounced on it like a lioness, and all of a sudden started riffing on it, and Bob started riffing back with her. And you could see the audience, that's what makes that scene work to me, is you're watching spontaneity happen, and the people that are in the chairs are not rehearsed, they're listening and watching and laughing, and those are great moments when they happen.
Well, so I will ask, Mr. De Niro, will you talk about developing that comic timing, that spontaneity?
Well, it was more difficult than I had thought, because you're up there and you just, you can die, and I sort of felt like I was dying in some ways when I was doing it with a lot of the extras, because they were being directed, and sometimes they'd forget that they'd have to laugh, and that would help, especially after doing the jokes a few times. It helps feed me as an actor, as the person playing this part. It gave me what I needed to feel right about it, and so that was Taylor's job. She did a great job of getting everyone to respond. Though in a real situation, that doesn't always happen. They're not always responding the way you want them to, and that's very scary for a comedian when that happens. I was lucky not to experience that, but I felt it, as I say, when they were not sometimes giving me the reaction that is needed to spur me on, blah, 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 anyway. So it was a lot of hard work.
Although in a scene like the wedding, when Jackie gets up, you didn't want the audience to be cracking up.
Yeah, that was different. Yeah.
And it's it's all chutzpah up there. He's up there deciding, knowing what he's doing, knowing that the family there are going to, not just Patty, but the rest of them are going to shoot daggers at him, which is the great thing about the scene. He just will. That's Jackie Burke, right? But you battled through that.
Yeah, I did. No, that was a very tough thing to do at 3, 4, 5 in the morning.
Well, we didn't listen. The thing is, we didn't shoot all day. Those were real windows, and I wanted it dark outside, so we had late calls, and it was grueling. And we only shot for 2 nighs. But one incredible thing, Danny is a director, and a really good director in his own right. But you want to get the actors shot, get them home. It's exhausting, and we have to be there for it. So I say to Danny, "Okay, Danny, you're finished. You can go home." He says, "Home? I'm having a great time. I'm staying until the end."
I just have to say something. When I started working with these guys, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to have short days because they're a little bit older and they're probably going to get tired, and we'll probably have 8-hour days, go home early, I can have a life, it's going to be awesome. It's the exact opposite. They work twice as hard as anyone I've ever worked with. They have more energy than my daughter, who's 14. They're just they work 17-hour days and then want to rehearse after we wrap. It's just never ending. Which is great.
We didn't have, like I said, this was a 27-day shoot, and we didn't have time. We didn't have a lot of money. You just had to go for it. And as I said, this is a passion project for Bob. That's the key here. He had it. It kind of infected all of us. And he was, like I said, he was stand-up. He was there. There's a thing called, well, I don't say this because it's a union thing, but let's put it this way. Bob De Niro was not getting a lot of sleep. And he just was always there. We had to get this done. And I think the whole cast and crew understood that. And, we didn't do a lot of takes. It's called, hey, we're here, we better grab this quick. And there's an energy that happens when you do that. That isn't, it may have be rough around the edges, but what we were going for is a certain vitality, and you know, the whole group worked very well together.
Well, I'm going to open it up to some questions from the audience. Do we have any questions? Yes?
Mr. De Niro, did you find that the act of standing on stage alone doing stand-up had a very different rhythm than the sort of performance you're used to doing on film with dialogue and other actors?
Yeah, no, you need the interaction with the audience. And when I was rehearsing it a lot with Jessica Kirsten and Louis Friedman, we would do it without an audience, and then sometimes some people would come in from the Comedy Cellar that were, you know, staff and so on, and some of the other, and Taylor and some other crewmen, people would come in. And then with some other real, if I want to call it real people or whatever, yeah, it's like, even then, I got the reaction, sometimes it's not an overt sort of laughing, but you need that. You need some kind of response in order to, the comic needs it to feel good that things are working. Nothing can happen and you're gonna have to just deal with it. And that's called dying, I guess. Anyway, I worked my way through it all, is what I'm saying, I guess. And it was a very, very interesting and good experience. And not an easy one. I hope that answers your question, I'm not sure.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Andrea Calabresi, and I'm wondering if we're actors here stationed in Los Angeles, what is the best way to get a job working with you guys? Do you have any advice for all the young actors out here?
Just keep working, get into something and hope that people come see you, or get people to come see you, agents, casting directors, and just keep plugging away. That's it.
So in the back there? Yes.
I'm a young actor. How do you guys cope with doing a really emotional scene, take after take after take, hour after hour, and having to stay in that emotional state? How do you guys, go home and just relax and unwind after all that?
Booze.
I guess.
Well, it feels good to have, feels good afterward, I think. So it's like, I can sleep better. What about you, Danny?
You mean like after you worked all day doing whatever you're doing say you're in a play, right?
Yeah, imagine you're doing a
Doing a really emotional part in a play or whatever, and then when you're done, you're done around 11 o'clock, 11:30, 12 o'clock, then what do? Then you go home, right? Okay. Then what? Then it still stays with you? You mean?
Yeah, man.
You mean like the whole when you keep going over the performance and stuff like that?
I'm just exhausted.
You're really tired when you go home, right? So like kids. You said, like she said, you have a drink and then you unwind. How do you,
I'll just say that a lot of it seemed to time out that the big emotional stuff we would be doing at 3 in the morning sometimes, which is not easy. It's a lot harder. So after that, it's 5, 6 in the morning. You go home and go to sleep.
I gotta say, the thing is, you try as hard as you can to not put actors in a situation where they're trying to get something done at 3 in the morning. It's not the best, but you know what? when you got no
He
time.
didn't care.
He didn't care.
He's got energy all night.
All night. He's drinking his tea.
What can you do? You got to do it, and then you got to trust that they're gonna. You know what? They're professionals, and they care about their roles, and ultimately they think they just blew it, and I just keep shooting until I know what.
But then, like the thing about like what he was saying with the guy, I don't know your name. What's your name?
My name's Luke Manuel.
Luke. And what Luke was saying is that, like, you know, after you're done with that, and when you go home, how do you like? So I was thinking, just as an added thing to this, would be blackout curtains. You get blackout curtains, because otherwise you get home at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. It's bright. You just black that room out, right? That's it. Take a. You got any kind of a drug? Any kind of drug? You are. Something to think about it.
I just want to say that it's an honor to be in front of you, Mr. De Niro and Mr. DeVito, and you guys are big legends.
And Leslie.
Amazing, and having a single, that's my favorite.
Okay.
There you go.
I just want to say to the director that what drive you to make this movie and drive into the comedy world?
Oh, I love comedy. I mean, I think that I owned a comedy club, or I was part owner of a comedy club in New Orleans. I'm fascinated. Bob, I think we all are fascinated by those animals. They're distinct. They're really different than the normal artists that you work with, because they're working alone and they're working with this on stage. Just their voice and the people are there. That's what Bob is saying. You can rehearse all you want in an empty club, and all of a sudden the people come in, and it's like, it's you and them, and they have to give to you, or even if they don't give to you, that forces another emotion out of you. That's what, comedians, Louis C.K.'s told me, he said, we all have ADD. We have equal amounts of terror and aggression, and who knows how it's going to come out. So to me, again, remember, I didn't develop this, Bob did. I did, however, because I had experience in the comedy world and seen these people and knew them. I was fascinated, and I jumped in because I thought, what a great subject. Because you can't just be kind of cool, laid back, and everything's fine in the comedy world. They're tortured. And I don't care who they are and what their style, because their style can be different. They're tortured.
I was also thinking, Luke, hot shower. And do you have a significant other? Because that's always,
Well, before we we close, I wanted to hear if there was one last thing you wanted to say about this film, and again your passion for the project, about your work on the film before we close.
Well, when do we start?
Yeah.
You know what Danny's doing? He's thinking about another relaxing.
I love the movie. I've seen it twice now, and I'm going to see it again, I'm sure. But I just think, everybody worked really hard, and everybody did a really terrific job. Everything came together. We had a lot of support, right? And it was great working with you guys. And so, you're next.
I think it's such a great story, and I think that there are so many big action movies and movies that don't mean anything. So bad at this, but no, I love this story, and I walk away from it, people want to talk about it, and you think about it the next day and a week later, and I love those movies, and I'm so excited to be a part of it, and so yeah, how's that? Good?
I'm happy that we finally had the project realized, and because when you think about what it's going to be, it's one thing. When it actually becomes a reality, and what it actually is another thing. But I'm happy with it. I'm happy we got it done, finally realized, and I'm happy that Taylor did the job. Really.
You know, for me, I did say at the very beginning when I read the script, Art and Jeff's script, I did recognize something in there about Jackie Burke. I really loved the fact that he was not about to stop. He wasn't going to accept the fact that all these people wanted to throw him on the junk heap, and that he had this fight to go back out there and still thought that he had something to say. He still wanted to be relevant. And I think there, with at least with Art and, pardon me, Art, and Danny and Bob and myself, there's a certain reality to that. You want to be able to continue to go out and speak and be heard, and it ain't so easy all the time. So there was, I think, for all of us, a personal thing that was involved in the making of this film, and it was a joy. It was a joy. It was like you're in the middle of it, and it was really hard. But at the same time, the energy comes like, hey, what's there to complain about? We're working with great talents, and we're having fun. And what could be better than that? So.
Well, thank you for sharing that joy, this film with us, and thank you for bringing the film to AFI FEST.